Okay guys, what we're going to do here now is put the axle and bearings, or axle and actually the pulleys into the wheel. Now the first thing you have to do, you're going to have to drill 3 holes through the 2 pulleys. So what you do is take the axle shaft, put it through both pulleys. First we got to drill these holes. And then just tighten the, not real tight, but enough to hold them so that they don't come apart. And these have been drilled already, so that all you have to do is drill the 3 holes. Now once you put these together like this, what you want to do is drill 3 holes as equally spaced, 1/4-inch holes by the way, in the pulley. But make sure both ends of the 2 pulleys are out, the set screws, because the wheel is going to go in between these 5/8 hole. I'm going to use a hole saw. This is a 5/8 hole saw. It gives you a nice tight, tight hole there, so that when you put the shaft in, it'll be fairly tight. It'll be kind of hard to push in. So let's go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and drill this hole, and then I'll be back, and then we'll put the pulleys into the wheel. Okay, now once you have the center hole drilled in the wheel, let me try to get a little closer here. Take the wheel, the pulley, take the back pulley off, put the wheel, or the pulley into the wheel all the way as far as you can go till the pulley is flush against the wheel. Now, all you have to do now is drill the 3 holes, and that'll allow you to bolt this. Once the assembly is all done, it'll be bolted to the back flange or pulley on the other side. Okay, the next step now is to mount the 2 pulleys and the axle shaft onto the wheel. Okay, the first thing you're going to have to do, which this is very important, this is just a test piece of axle that I'm using here. When you put these bolts in, before I forget, you need a 1/4-inch washer before you put this together. You always use a washer between, on both sides of this. Now, over on the inside, this is important. It takes about 6 washers to bring this even. I don't know how well you can see it, so that where this pressure is pushed on the bolt, you want it to match the end of the pulley. So on these particular pulleys, you need 6 washers. And I'll show you. 3, 4, what did I put? Okay, 6. Now, you'll see. You can check this with a board. I don't drop it here. So that you want those washers to be just about even with the outer pulley, so that when you tighten this down, the washers and the outer pulley all flat, all 3 pieces or 3 screws are going to be pulling with this tight against the wheel along with the matching washers, which I think you can see there. So you're going to need all 3, all 3 bolts, 1 washer on the outside, 6 on the inside. Now we'll go ahead and put the 2 pulleys, the 3 screws, and bolt it up against the wheel. Now when you do this, be sure the set screws on the pulleys are loose. Don't try to tighten this up with this tight. on the axle shaft, because you want to be able to squeeze the pulleys together. And once the pulleys are squeezed together, then you can tighten the set screws on the front and the back, and this will hold the whole assembly tight up against the wheel. So we'll go ahead and we'll do that, and then I'll be back. Okay, we got the axle mounted, the pulleys mounted, and that completes the installation of the axle to the wheel. Get a closer view. And our black mark on there is to line up both sides that we drilled. And when it's done, it would look something like this for the moment on the inside. And then the outside would look, this is the finished back. Now, the nuts I use on these screws are nylon lock nuts, or sometimes they call them stop nuts. You can get them at any home, any home depot or supply place. By the way, I measured the axle. The axle gets cut 10 inches long. That's the total length from the inside all the way out. So, just thought I'd give you a look on that. Now we're going to go ahead and put the bearings into the... Okay, what we have to do is mark the height that we want the wheel to be. In this case, I have it set for 25 inches, and I put a mark there. And this is going to be where the center of the axle will be placed. And this will give us a clearance on the bottom, from the bottom of the wheel to the stand of 1 inch. Now, if you want to make it higher, you can make it higher, but do not go less than 1 inch. You can make it 1.5 inches, or you can make it 2 inches, whatever you prefer, and put the line here. The same thing on the back, measure from the top of the 2x4, put the same dimension. And what you're going to have to do, these bearings have a flange on them. I don't know, you might be able to see it right there. You're going to have to recess the hole where they go 1 7/8 or 2 inches, whichever you want to do. It could be either one. And you need to use one of these type of drill bits. These are available at, I guess, any home improvement center. It's called a Forstner bit. This one's 1 7/8 inches. Or you have to chisel it if you don't want to buy the bit. But what this will do is it'll put a recessed notch. I'm going to make it a little over 1/4 inch, maybe 3/8 of an inch. Doesn't matter how deep. Just obviously not all the way through. Just enough so that this flange will allow this to go in there. And that's it. So I'm going to go ahead and put the two holes for the flange, and then I'll show you what that looks like before we put a hole. Okay, I made the cutout for the back of the bearing. That will drop right in here just like that. And you have some adjustment. So you do that on both sides. I already did both sides. Now what I forgot to mention, instead of that other bit to make this cutout, you could buy this type of bit, far cheaper, and they do come in 1 7/8, 2 inch, or all sizes. You can use the same thing to make this cutout a whole lot cheaper. So you may want to look at these. Now, once both sides are like this done, you want to drill a 3/4 inch hole using one of these all the way through. But I suggest you do half on one side, half on the other, so that you come up pretty close without drilling on an angle. Now once you do that, the wheel shaft axle will have a lot of play in it, in here. That gives us enough adjustment to move the wheel around to put it where we're going to put these other outer holes in to hold the bearings down. Okay, so this is what it looks like after the hole is drilled. That's a 3/4 inch hole. And then both sides. So you end up with a recessed 1 7/8 or 2-inch hole. And then both sides are the same. Okay, now what we want to do is put the inner bearing on the inside. Don't do the outside first, the inside. And what we got to do is we got to take and put the bearing, it doesn't matter exactly, it's somewhere around the center of it. And the hole should go in between this 2x4 and in between this 2x4. And what you want to use is 1.5 inch by 1/4 inch lag bolts. Drill a 5/32 pilot hole for the screw, and then put the bearing assembly in. Let me get that part. So that. Alright, so what we're going to do now is we want to drill that and be sure that the set screws are on the outside. I believe it's the only way it will fit. You want to drill a 5/32 hole there, here, and go ahead and mount this one as close to the center as you can get it. Okay, now once you get the shaft and the bearings in, the back of the wheel will look something like this. This is just a picture of the assembly. Let me try to get in a little bit closer here. And that's how it goes through the back. And it'll be like that. I left a little bit of the shaft longer than you need in case I ever want to, add something to it. Who knows what it may be, but I always leave it that way. Otherwise, you got to replace the whole unit. And that's what it looks like finished. And also, you can turn it, and that's how it looks. Now, this is the way the front of the wheel looks when it's finished. Now, you can cover up this. You can either leave the pulley like it is, or you can build a wooden diameter cover for the wheel. I did it in acrylic. I just made this acrylic piece. This wheel happens to be going to the local exotic pet store that I made it for. And I just put 2 holes in there. And then you can do the same thing with wood. And just make, any type of cover for it. And this completes the wheel. This is the wheel all done. As you can see, it runs very smooth. And pretty much lasts you forever. All we needed now was a real skunk, but Lulu was in the bed sleeping when I took this photo. So we had to put one of her toys in there. Any questions, comments, or whatever, let me know. Thanks.